엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Coming up on Arirang News, President Yoon appoints former Vice Justice Minister Kim Ju-hyun as Senior Secretary for Civil Affairs, reviving the position previously scrapped for better communication with the public. South Korea's foreign minister is likely to visit Beijing next week as the country seeks to mend relations with China. This comes ahead of a trilateral summit between the leaders of South Korea, Japan, and China. Vladimir Putin has officially begun his fifth term as Russia's president as he was sworn in at a Kremlin inauguration on Tuesday. While the United States and most European Union nations did not send their representatives to the ceremony, South Korea's ambassador to Russia did attend. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start with the restructuring at the presidential office. President Yoon appoints ex-Vice Justice Minister Kim Ju-hyun as Senior Secretary for Civil Affairs, reinstating the position that he abolished for better communication with the public. Also, President Yoon plans to hold a press conference later this week, marking the second anniversary of his inauguration. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young reports.
President Yoon has named a Senior Secretary for Civil Affairs, reviving a post he previously scrapped, in the move to strengthen his communication with the public as he begins his third year in office this week. On Tuesday, Yoon himself announced he had re-established an Office for Civil Affairs, with former prosecutor and Vice Justice Minister Kim Ju-hyun as the head. This comes after the defeat of his ruling People Power Party at the April 10th general election. Yoon said he had failed to reflect the wishes of the public and vowed to reform the way he communicates and runs the country. During his presidential campaign, Yoon had pledged to streamline his administration to exclude a Secretary for Civil Affairs, citing previous misdeeds that occurred under the role, including abuse of power over government bodies and the investigation of citizens. However, the president said on Tuesday he realized that the position had remained throughout successive governments in order to heed public opinion and better inform the management of state affairs.
I think what he would probably do in this context is to use the position as a way to help implement, and also, again, part of this issue of messaging, his domestic policies, and to be a point where this can be coordinated as best as it can be, given the control of the Democratic Party, but as a medium towards which, domestic policies can be sort of pursued in a more comprehensive way.
In another move signaling change, President Yoon will hold a press conference on Thursday morning, according to spokesperson Kim Soo-kyung. A senior official said no questions are off the table. The press conference will aim to address a variety of topics within its roughly 1 hour timeframe, with the spokesperson moderating. Yoon's presser comes 21 months after his last media conference, which was for his 100th day in office. The president also halted his frequent impromptu questions and answers or doorstepping sessions with media after a series of unsavory exchanges with broadcaster MBC. As Yoon takes steps to make his approach to policy more inclusive and open to discussion, Yoon will deliver a video message to Korean citizens from his own office at 10 a.m. before his Thursday presser. He plans to explain how the administration has executed policies over the past 2 years and lay out what he plans to pursue for the next 3 years of his term. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
South Korea's foreign minister is soon to visit Beijing ahead of the summit between the leaders of South Korea, Japan, and China that'll likely take place later this month in Seoul. Eyes are now on whether he'll meet Chinese President Xi Jinping and what will be on the agenda between the two countries' top diplomats. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji explains more.
Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yul is reportedly set to visit Beijing next week as South Korea seeks to mend relations with China before the country's leaders meet for a trilateral summit in Seoul. South Korean media reported Tuesday that his trip will take place sometime around May 13th. The Foreign Ministry has yet to confirm but did not deny that his visit will take place soon.
South Korea and China have been communicating closely based on a mutual understanding of the importance of high-level talks. We are in the final stages of talks regarding Minister Cho Tae-yul's visit to China.
This is Cho's first visit to China since he took office in January. It's also the first visit to Beijing by a South Korean foreign minister in more than 6 years. Cho is set to hold talks with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi and discuss a wide range of bilateral and global matters, including security issues such as asking for China's constructive role in countering North Korea's nuclear missile threats, as well as economic issues. The top diplomat's visit comes ahead of the trilateral summit between the leaders of South Korea, Japan, and China that will likely take place later this month in Seoul. Seoul's foreign ministry earlier said South Korea is in final consultations with Beijing and Tokyo to hold the upcoming summit on May 26th and 27th. If it takes place this month, this will be the first time in almost 4.5 years since the meeting last took place in Cheongdo in December 2019. Relations between Seoul and Beijing have been strained over the issue of China forcibly sending back North Korean defectors. Recently, the Chinese government reportedly sent back a large number of escapees to North Korea, with human rights groups in South Korea saying that China repatriated at least 260 of them in late April. All eyes are now on whether Cho's visit to Beijing could help stabilize ties between the two countries. 배은지, Arirang News.
Over in Russia, Vladimir Putin has officially begun his 5th term as president of Russia. The inauguration ceremony today came just a day after his call for military drills involving tactical nuclear weapons. Our An Sung-jin brings the latest.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has been re-inaugurated for his 5th term in office. The ceremony held at the Kremlin on Tuesday puts Putin in power until at least 2030, and he will be able to run for another 6-year term after the 2030 presidential election. South Korea's ambassador to Russia, Lee Do-hun, attended the inauguration as the two countries reportedly noted that they have major issues that need to be discussed. European countries such as France, Hungary, and Slovakia also participated. However, some other Western countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, and most European nations such as Germany, did not attend, boycotting Putin's inauguration in light of Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. Putin told officials that Russia would not cut off dialogue with the West, but that the Western allies had to make their choice. This comes after a day after Putin sent a warning to the West by ordering tactical nuclear weapon drills. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the southern military district's missile units have begun preparations for tactical nuclear weapon drills set to take place in the near future. The ministry explained that Putin ordered the drills to defend Russian territory and ensure its sovereignty in response to provocative remarks and threats by the West. Moscow has also accused the U.S. and its European allies of pushing the world to the brink of a nuclear war by supporting Ukraine with tens of billions of dollars worth of weapons. Putin's inauguration follows his landslide victory in the presidential election in March by receiving over 87% of the votes. Eyes are on whether his cabinet members will remain after the government reshuffle, and if they do, which ones will be promoted or demoted. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping has kicked off his Europe tour with a visit to France amid heightened geopolitical and trade tensions. Yoon covers his diplomatic agenda.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping is on his first visit to Europe in 5 years, which started with a 2-day visit in Paris, where he met with his French and EU counterparts. The visit comes amid heightened economic and trade tensions, including the EU's investigation into China's electric vehicle exports and Beijing's anti-dumping probe on French cognac. Von der Leyen said after Monday's talks that the EU and China have a complex relationship and that Europe is willing to make tough decisions to protect its economy and national security. She also said a China that plays fair would benefit the global economy.
The world cannot absorb China's surplus production. Therefore, I have encouraged the Chinese government to address these structural overcapacities. At the same time, we will closely coordinate with G7 countries and emerging economies that are also increasingly affected by China's market distortions.
According to French diplomatic sources, Xi Jinping appeared receptive, but it was unclear whether that would lead to action. The Chinese leader reiterated that its relationship with Europe is a foreign policy priority. But according to Chinese media, he also told his counterparts that the problem of China's overcapacity does not exist. Also during the meetings in Paris, Macron urged the Chinese leader to use his influence on Russia to end the war with Ukraine. To further urge Xi, von der Leyen said that the EU is counting on Beijing to influence Moscow in a statement following the talks on Monday.
President Xi has played an important role in de-escalating Russia's irresponsible nuclear threats, and I'm confident that President Xi will continue to do so against the backdrop of the ongoing nuclear threats by Russia.
The Chinese leader will be in the Pyrenees Mountains on Tuesday before his visit to Serbia and Hungary later in the week. Ian Jin, Arirang News.
Turning to the Middle East, the Israeli military took control of the Palestinian side of the Rafah Crossing on Tuesday, rendering the fate of Rafah further uncertain. This comes amid faltering ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas. Shin Se-byuk reports.
Israel's army radio reported Tuesday that the Israeli military now controls the Palestinian side of the Rafah Crossing in southern Gaza, bordering Egypt. Officials from the Israel Defense Forces confirmed it had taken over operational control over the crossing, with the Gaza Border Authority spokesperson verifying the deployment of Israeli tanks at the site. The Gaza-Egypt Rafah Crossing, a vital route for international humanitarian aid, is the sole exit point for Palestinians from Gaza. With the latest Israeli military operation, Palestinians are now unable to leave the territory. This news surfaces amid growing speculation of an impending ground offensive following Israel's issuance of evacuation orders and its continuation of airstrikes in the Rafah area the previous day. According to senior IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari, Israeli tanks and ground troops advanced into the eastern outskirts of Rafah on Monday night. This comes after the leadership of Hamas accepted the terms of a ceasefire deal proposed by mediators from Qatar and Egypt. However, Israel said it would not accept it. The ceasefire deal is structured into 3 phases, each spanning 42 days. The initial one called for the release of Israeli civilians. This would be followed by the second phase, which mandates a full withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip. The final phase involves a prisoner exchange between Israel and Hamas. According to a statement released by the Israeli Prime Minister's office on Monday local time, the terms of the ceasefire were far from meeting Israel's core demands, and its war cabinet voted unanimously to continue military operations in Rafah. Israel, however, said that it will send its negotiators to talk to mediators to try to reach a ceasefire agreement on terms that are acceptable to Israel. Meanwhile, the U.S., one of the mediator countries in the talks alongside Qatar and Egypt, said it was reviewing the response. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
On the local front, the government is extending its emergency healthcare measures for 1 more month to better address the vacuum at major hospitals amid the prolonged walkout by doctors in training. Our Choi Soo-hyung has the latest.
The government will extend its financial support for the emergency medical system for 1 more month. On Tuesday, the Health Minister Cho Tae-yul said the government will increase the financial support from May 11th amid the prolonged medical dispute following the mass exodus by trainee doctors. He also urged medical school professors to stop collective action regarding their statement on the 3rd to take a 1-week break if the medical school quota expansion is confirmed.
Some medical school professors are discussing a nationwide shutdown on May 10th and a one-week collective halting of work if the expansion plan is confirmed. Please stop collective action, considering patients and their families who are fighting at the crossroads of life and death.
Since February, the government has been operating an emergency medical system to fill the medical gap due to collective action by trainee doctors opposing the government expansion plan. The emergency medical system is costing 190 billion Korean won, or almost $140 million each month. As part of the system, Minister Cho said the ministry will deploy an additional 36 military doctors. Currently, a total of 427 military and public health doctors are being deployed to hospitals which are facing significant shortages. Furthermore, the government plans to enhance support for specialized hospitals to the level of top-tier general hospitals. Meanwhile, the Presidential Special Committee on Medical Reform will hold a second meeting by the end of this week. Cho Tae-yul, Arirang News.
Korea's foreign exchange reserves has fallen amid efforts to stabilize the market. According to the Bank of Korea, on Tuesday, the country's foreign exchange reserves amounted to just over $413 billion at the end of April, down almost $6 billion on month. The bank attributed the drop to the sell-off of dollars to ease market fluctuations, as well as a decrease in foreign currency deposits and rampant dollar conversions of foreign currency assets. As of the end of March, Korea holds the 9th largest foreign exchange reserves worldwide. South Korea is currently reviewing Indonesia's recent proposal to cut back its financial contributions to the joint KF-21 fighter jet development project. The Defense Acquisition Program Administration addressed the issue on Tuesday as Indonesia offered to cut its payment to about a third of the original amount. This means instead of the original amount of 1.6 trillion won, or $1.2 billion due by 2026, the Indonesian government would only pay about $441 million. The recent payment cut was requested for fewer technology transfers. Indonesia's commitment to the project has been questioned as it missed payment deadlines, contributing just around $220 million so far. The proposal comes amid an ongoing probe into alleged attempts by Indonesian engineers to steal the jet's technologies from Korea aerospace industries. In other news, this year marks 140 years of diplomatic relations between Korea and Italy. Celebrating the occasion, a project aiming to bolster cultural exchanges between the two countries kicked off over the weekend. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports from Rome.
Though more than 9,000 kilometers apart, Korea and Italy have a lot in common. That's how Korea's Culture Minister Yoon describes the two countries' ties.
Korea's connection with Italy runs deep. Geographically, they're both located on peninsulas. And on a personal note, I see parallels in their people, the joyful energy, trendy style, and abundant talent.
2024 marks the 140th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Korea and Italy. To celebrate, both countries have declared 2024 to 2025 as a year of cultural exchange. Minister Yu took a 3-day visit to Rome for the opening night of the 2024-2025 Korea-Italy Year of Cultural Exchange. Italy has long been a source of inspiration for him.
My first trip to Italy was in around 1987. From Rome to Napoli to Sicily, the weight of history and tradition hit me like a ton of bricks. And every time I visit this country, it makes me focus on the present and future. During my term, I want to create festivals that can represent Korea and that people from all over the world can enjoy together. For example, an opera festival like Verona's.
The Culture Ministry aims to foster a blend of modern and traditional cultural exchanges through this project, not just K-pop or K-dramas. Plans include holding traditional and contemporary Korean dance performances, exhibiting artwork by veteran Korean artists, and holding tourism fairs in Italy. But the most important thing is forging lasting connections.
What matters is providing a chance for young talent from both countries to interact and collaborate, so they can together create a cultural fusion unique to Korea and Italy. For instance, we're thinking of creating a small-scale joint opera production.
Through this cultural diplomacy, both countries hope to deepen their ties even further. 송유진, Arirang News, Rome.
New York Times best-selling Korean-American author Ilyon Woo has been named a co-winner of the Pulitzer Prize in the Books, Drama and Music category for a biography, Master Slave Husband Wife. She shared the prize with Jonathan Ike for King Alive. Regarded as the highest literary award in the United States, honoring achievements in journalism, works of literature, and music, the prizes were awarded on Monday at Columbia University. Woo has become the first Korean-American author to set such a milestone for a narrative of an enslaved couple who escaped from Georgia in 1848. BTS leader RM is to drop a pre-release song, Come Back to Me, from his new album on Friday. One of 11 songs from his second solo album, Right Place, Wrong Person, is in the indie pop genre. The main theme of the album, which is to be released on May 24th, is the concern about being right or wrong. Lee Sung-jin, the director of the Netflix comedy drama Beef, directed and produced the music video, while actress Kim Min-ha participated in it. His second solo album comes 17 months after the release of his first album, Indigo.
It rained throughout the weekend and the sky is still cloudy today all over the country. Most of the rain clouds will fade at night in central regions. There will be rain in the southern parts of the country until dawn tomorrow. The amount of rain is expected to be 5 to 20 millimeters in most regions and up to 30 in Jeollabuk-do province. Tomorrow, the sky will gradually clear up from the central regions in the afternoon. However, morning temperatures will remain at around 10 degrees Celsius nationwide, and it will be somewhat chilly. Temperatures will rise during the daytime. It will move up to 21 degrees, about 3 degrees higher than today. Tomorrow, Daejeon, Daegu, and Gyeongju will start off at 10 degrees. It will move up to 22 in Gwangju, Busan, and Jeju, 18 degrees. There is more rain forecast across the country at the end of the week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for this newscast tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with the latest news at 9 a.m. tomorrow with New Day at Arirang. Good night.
Lotte takes a new leap beyond its boundaries. Our change will lead to